Hey there folks, let's get into some gradients inside Illustrator. Right now I just have some basic shapes, so I got, circle, square, star, and this one's just a regular old pen path. So we're going to be adding some gradients to these. And things I want you to kind of pay attention to here. I have a gradient palette, so I have a palette over here to the right that says gradient. If I click on this, this brings out the gradient palette. I also have a gradient tool over on the left hand side. We're going to use both of those right now. So we'll start with a palette, and I kind of like to drag this out and have it be its own thing. And that's because I can also use the color palette at the same time. So I kind of like to have them live like this. So as we kind of deal with this, a couple things about this gradient palette here. There's going to be different types of gradients. There's a linear gradient, a radial gradient, and a freeform gradient. These first two are going to be more usable. Those are the kind of oldest versions of. Freeform gradients are going to be the new ones. We're going to explore all three of them. And there's also some like base gradients on here. I would start with these first two. I would not do any of these like fading ones just yet to start with, just because they introduce transparency to the mix. And so I'm just going to be using white and black here. And if I click on it, or if I just click on this one, this actually changed the fill and added a gradient to this. Gradients can work on the fill and the stroke. So whichever one is higher here is what you're going to add the gradient to. And kind of the number one thing people will like error on. So if I click on my circle here, if the stroke is up front and I click this gradient, this will add a gradient to the circle. So you want to watch out for that. You want the fill to be the one that you're adding to here. So I've added this gradient to my fill. And with this, this is the colors that are down here. So I have white that I can kind of move around, and this will show up in your gradient. I have black that I can move around, and this diamond is kind of the middle point of the gradient. So you can also move that around if you'd rather. Now, if I click down here, this will add more of those points. The diamonds are just the center point between those two colors. If you want to get rid of these, you can click and drag down, or I can click and drag this, or hit this little trash can. This will also get rid of them. If I want to change this color, if I double click on this, this will open up the color menu, and I could mix that color. I could also click one of these colors over here. Now, if you're, there's also the crayon picker, so I can pick one of these base colors. But I would much rather you kind of create your own color here, you know. If you're faced with grayscale, if it just looks like this, there's just a K. K means either key color or just black. You have to hit this little, these three lines and pick CMYK color. This will bring back all the colors, so then you can either mix your color or pick your color. We also can use our color panel up here, so you can kind of mix that color and drag that in. So this color can get dragged in as well. We can change it. We can do a lot of those things. If you spend some time playing around with this, you'll get it pretty easily. But this is a linear gradient, so I just got a linear gradient right over here. If I go over to my circle here, I start out with a linear gradient, but I also can do a radial gradient. Radial is going to be that this right-hand side right now is going to be in the outside area, and the white is going to be in the middle of the circle. So if I adjust this one, let's make it all blue cyan, and we can see it kind of fades out to that area. So I could add more. Maybe I want to do like a highlight kind of thing. Or maybe even like this one turns into, we've done too many. If you did too many colors, we'll do like a hot spot kind of here, like this is the highlight. And we can adjust this color over here if you wanted to. That's why I kind of like have both of these open at the same time. There's also a freeform gradient. You know what, let's get into that in a second. So I can adjust some of these if I want to, and we can adjust that with some of these locations and colors and whatnot. But kind of the next power area is going to be the gradient tool, and its shortcut's a G. If you hit that thing and be selected on one of your shapes, what's going to happen is you'll be able to click and drag, and it'll show the gradient on here. And some people like this part better because if I click and drag, you know, I can adjust it where the angle of where I want it to be. Do I want it on an angle? Do I want it to start over here or start over here? I'm more in control over it. You also can adjust colors right here. So I can make this more black, or I can make it, you know, just add some cyan to this. And you'll see there is the middle point area on this little bar. And if you click right on the line or right below the line, you can change or add a color as well. So it's kind of everything that's on our gradient palette over here is also here. Easy. So if I do my radial gradient as well, if I click that tool, this one works a little bit differently, but it kind of starts out from the center here. And this will let me make like a 3D kind of sphere thing. But you're able to start from that point and then kind of expand where you want it to be, which I like. So we can adjust where this one's going to be. Now, if you have some weirder shapes, you can add the gradient just like you did before. And if you do the linear gradient, you know, we can go up and down, it can go diagonal. If you do the radial gradient, it still can do those different things. And that's true for, you know, a fancy shape like this as well. Now, our third type of gradient is going to be a free-form gradient. And this is going to give you some dots that you can kind of be in charge of what those colors are going to be. And they're kind of effective areas. So if I just add a dot over here, I can say, hey, this area is going to be this darker tone, this area is going to be yellow. And you can move these or make them larger or smaller. You have a little bit of option for that. And then this one will be, I don't know, a fancier green. Yeah, like that. So we can kind of move these around a little bit. And this works for a complicated shape like this or just a square. But that'll be free-form gradient. There's also some, if you want the idea of a point or a line for this, you can experiment with this. I won't ruin all of those things. You can get into that. And then our last spot is if I do that thicker stroke, we can also add that gradient to a stroke. So if I click on the stroke early, and it's above the fill here, I'm able to, I can add the color to my stroke, and we can see that's kind of changing as well. If we add another color over here, maybe we go yellow, you can see that I have both a fill gradient and a stroke gradient that's on here. There's a few options here. If you want to go within the stroke, around the outside of the stroke, or like have it be inside outside, so it kind of starts with the yellow and then fades to the outside, you're welcome to explore some of those things. What you're going to see inside of our assignment is I have a couple different areas where I just want you to play around with the linears. I want you to explore radials, explore freeform, and then try to make some chrome type of effects. As you get into chrome, you're going to have a lot more points. You might have to have, this many points going on inside of here. You might need a lot of points. Just as a quick kind of tip, as you get inside of there, we might need more points than even this. So just as you start to get inside of this, be a little concerned or be a little willing to put more points in there. And if you did notice, hey, why didn't this gradient go in here? Did you notice? I got stroke. So I need to either flip this, so I can flip these if I already want to keep all this gradient, or I need to kind of rebuild my gradient in the fill area. So you should be good to start this project. Hopefully this helped. Let me know what I can do next.